Welcome to the show. This is the Good Man Show podcast. I'm your host, Mr. Rick, and we got a subject for you today. And we have somebody here who is highly qualified to speak on what we're going to be speaking on today. First, let me introduce him. Ladies and gentlemen, we have in the house the one and only Pastor Keith J. Allen of His Way Ministries Incorporated. And we're going to talk about today a subject that is definitely something that about a few years ago, I was not in agreement with. And that is, I heard him say this to me one time and it just stuck with me. I heard him say that if anything was to happen to his wife, God forbid, and he wanted to marry again, he would not marry for love. And I was like, what? Who doesn't marry for? I think that's the whole purpose of getting married, is for love. And he said, no, I wouldn't marry for love, and I don't think that people have to marry for love. So we're going to talk about that because I since come to agree with that statement. Pastor Allen is in the house, and we're going to chop it up and talk about it because it's definitely a relevant subject. What do you think, Pastor?
Well, first of all, thank you for allowing me to be a part of the conversation. More than anything, I would like to say, call it an issue more than anything else, because while we are toplifying it, making it a topic, it really is an issue in our society. The issue of love, the concept of marrying for it, and the whole nine, as far as I'm concerned, has become an issue. And so we have to address the issue, or we should address the issue, simply because most of us don't understand. First of all, we don't understand love. And as a result of not understanding love, we predicate what we're doing on love, but really it's an opinion.
I love your insight because, over the years, it's taught me a lot. And one of the reasons why I am as firm in my position as I am now is because, a lot of the things that you have said to me that I had to ponder over the years. But when you say it's an issue,
Mm-hmm.
now, you can elaborate on that.
Right, because what we call love is really an opinion. It creates issues. And when our perspective of what love is begin to disintegrate, then it creates issues within the effort of relationship. You know what I'm saying? So we're making an effort to have a relationship, and we're predicating that relationship on the ideal of love, which is an opinion. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I heard you say that before.
Right.
Yeah.
So because I call what I feel for you love, you know what I'm saying? And when the reasons that I love you dissipate, or they're hard to spot or hard to see, then my opinion of you change. And as a result of that, it's hard to love you.
When your reasons... Oh, right, okay. Yeah, so I know what you mean from an experiential perspective, because I've been in that situation. And I'd say that a lot, which is one of the reasons why I'm still single. Right.
See, when you're dealing with the whole ideal of relationship, we tend to approach it from an opinion of what we want, of what we want the other person to be, and so forth. And so all these concepts are dangling in the whole construct of our relationship, to the degree that if I don't meet any one of these expectations or requirements, then your perception of me is challenged. And those are opportunity to love. Whenever you're in a position, and we probably so way down the line just in making that statement, but the struggle in you keeping the right perspective of me is important if I'm going to love you.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know you to
Right.
that degree
Right.
to even to begin that process, because you're trying to be this perfect being. Or how about this? You're trying to be accepted.
Acceptable.
Yeah. And accepted.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying? You're trying to be this, and so you haven't clicked off that yet.
That's male or female.
That's whoever, yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? So while you're trying to in your mind be what you think I want, you're so busy doing that till you're not being who you really are.
Okay, so when it comes to somebody who is wanting to be married, aspiring to be married, and looking for a spouse, whether that's male or female, right? The perspective that you're coming from when you say that you wouldn't personally marry a woman again for love, now women don't think that way. That's a man's perspective, right? That's a masculine.
I wouldn't say
perspective.
that.
No?
To be honest with you, I wouldn't.
But most women don't. Most women want to be in love, quote unquote, with the person that they.
But
are
again,
aspiring
the
to
whole
marry.
concept of love is jacked up.
Right.
If a woman want to be with someone who is their ideal of somebody, you know what I'm saying? And so the focus again gets taken off of who you are supposed to be yourself. Who are you yourself? So if I'm struggling or trying to fuse or incorporate somebody into what my ideal of who they should be is, and that's the basis of our relationship, then what do what else are we basing it on? Most people will base what they do on cattle, houses, land.
Mm-hmm.
Most people will base what they do on so many other things.
Material things.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the state that this culture is in. So somebody like me is probably going to have a rough time trying to find somebody that shares that mentality. Like, okay, even in the so-called in the church, I believe. I'm not saying that it's impossible, of course, but somebody like me will have a hard time finding somebody. The other fold of the question that I was gonna ask you, kind of like forgot, because I was on whether or not it's mainly a male perspective or a female perspective, and you answered that.
Right. It's neither nor, because it's such a chameleon kind of concept that it will operate in thought as male or female.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And it's again all predicated on opinion. What is my ideal of what love is? And I'm going to try to make someone fit into my ideal of what love is, and not predicate my ideal as it being transformed within me. So I'm so focused on you being what my ideal is till I forget to be my ideal myself.
And that's the case with most of us, right? And me included. Like, because I said, when you told me this, my perspective on this was totally different. Like,
You know why I told you that? I told you that because at a certain place and certain point in my life and through my own personal experiences and observations, I begin to realize that that was a lot of years spent between my wife and I fitting into that emotional instability into each other's lives. We tried to fit into emotional instability, but I realized that when it came to facing life itself, we were ill prepared because we were so busy worrying about what each other felt. And I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to admit it. I'm going to tell you something. I primarily dominated that as an issue within our relationship. Everyone had to fit into my ideal of what they should be. And when they didn't, they had a problem with me. Now, I want you to listen to me, because a lot of times when you don't fit into the person's ideal of you, then the person becomes the problem. They don't see themselves as a problem.
Right.
They see you because you are not fitting into my ideal of what they think you should be.
Right.
It is a passive aggressive perspective that I had. You know what I mean, where I was doing it for us. I was doing it for, the whole concept. And I'm going to tell you, when you're in a relationship with somebody, it can waste a lot of years.
And for the sake of context, how long were you married, and then how long did it take you to come to that realization or revelation?
Well, okay, I'm not going to go through all of it, but like I'm married now for 40 years, maybe, somewhere in there. My wife, if you listening, I love you.
and you and your wife met when you were like
teenagers, right?
And neither one of you were involved with anyone else sexually.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that makes a big difference.
No, it don't.
It don't?
No. It helps. But it's not that big of a deal when you're dealing with because the issue, again, the issues are really not sexual. The issues are really not, a penis and a vagina. We make those issues. You know what I'm saying? The real issue is the lack of something within the individual that we have to deal with.
But did you know that starting off, though? What you know now, you didn't know that then, though, right?
I don't know,
because obviously you said it took on a form where you felt like everybody had to fit into your idea.
Right. So what does sex have to do with that? You get what I'm saying? Yeah. It's going right back to the point, is that a lot of time, and I'm a nice guy. You know what I mean? I'll give you the shirt off my back. I'm a nice guy. But no,
back in the day, you wasn't that nice.
Don't change the subject. I was a nice guy back then, but I had a problem, and back then it's the same problem, that insecurity. And so anybody that you're going to end up in a relationship with, eventually you're going to have to deal with insecurity.
Right.
I don't care how it come, because a lot of times it's so masked with anger, and it's so masking emotion, and it's so masking passive aggressive attitude, where I'm serving you, but I'm serving you to keep you away from an issue. I'm doing for you, or I'm giving to you because I'm keeping you away from an issue. You get what I'm saying? Something that is unresolved within me, and that need for belonging it goes beyond just the normal need for connection. You have to understand. So that becomes the basis on which my controlling was resting on. I wanted to be accepted, but I wanted to make sure you was going to accept me
the way you wanted to
exactly.
be accepted. Right.
You know what I mean? Acceptance had to look like I thought it should look.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? And so that's what I'm saying. This thing that we're talking about, it doesn't matter if you're male or female. It's non-gender specific. You know what I'm saying? It's non-penis or vagina specific.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because that's another dimension of thinking. So anyway, so when I told you that, and I said, you know what, Rick, man, I wouldn't marry for love. And the reason that I told you that was because I realized that I needed to marry for mutual purpose. I want my spouse, if I ever had to do it again, it would be for a purpose more than it would be for how I feel about you. I've too many other relationships in my life are broken up because people change their mind about how they feel about me. But if we are united comrades, we can at least approach the whole covenant through being comrades, that we have these mutual this mutual agenda, this mutual goal, this mutual expectations and outcomes. And then, and I'm going to tell you something with that. And then through that, we can establish our roles. But outside of that, we're going to argue over our roles. We're going to argue over who's giving what. But I need to see you as a teammate on some level. I need you to see me as a teammate with mutual goals in mind, with a mutual purpose rather in mind, because goals, once they're fulfilled, they're no more, but we can replace it with another one. But if we have a mutual purpose, then that's something to build a relationship on. And you best believe that along the lines of objective, I'm going to begin by appreciating you. And I'm going to know I appreciate you. You know what I'm saying? I don't know I love you yet. I don't know I'm in love with you. I know that I appreciate you. And that's a more solid foundation.
And so appreciation will breed the love.
Eventually.
Now, here's the problem, though. We live in a culture that is inundated with the Roman Greco idea of love. We feel this way for each other. Therefore, we are, in love. And people marry off of that premise. You know what I mean? Only to find out later that number one, they didn't know who they married.
Right. Wait. Sorry. But listen to what you're saying. Listen and listen to how you are saying it. I don't want us at the end of this conversation to just have spewed out information. What I want to happen at the end of all this conversation is realization. And so listen to what you said. I want you to say it as best you can again, and I'm gonna interject or interrupt you. Go ahead.
Okay, so in this culture,
Right.
And I'm speaking from experience, having the desire to be married and encountered certain prospects, right? I've questioned women, and since I've learned this, I've said this to several women. I don't believe that you have to be in love to marry a person. And the person looked at me with such a surprise, as I did when you first told me. And they were totally blown away with what I said. And they were totally in opposition of what I said. Well, if you're going to marry, what other purpose is there to marry
and
somebody?
You didn't say it like you said
Okay,
before.
so I said, in this culture, most people have this Roman Greco idea of love, like that, which means you make me feel good and I make you feel good.
Now, this is why I'm telling you that what you're calling love, or what anybody's calling love in that realm, or it's not even a dimension, it's just a realm, is an opinion.
What do you mean?
Because anything that make you feel without being connected to a opinion is just a sensation.
Okay.
And so if I tell you I love you, or you make me feel, or what do you mean? Why? How could you not? Why would you marry somebody if you are not in love with them?
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Because we haven't gotten to being in love, because we don't know that yet. Oh, I love you like I love the guy down the street or the woman down the street, or I love you like I love.
I like the way you said it before a while ago. You said, at best, what I have is an affection for you.
Exactly.
And that's different than love.
Exactly. And we can share affection, but we have to accomplish love. Love is.
That's my point, though. Most people I run into don't understand that. They have to be.
I don't expect them to.
This is one of the reasons why I want to have this conversation, because when I talk to you and it opened up my understanding and my revelation of it, it just made so much sense. And then I remember reading the Bible scriptures describing what love was, and I was like, man, I'm way off. I have no idea of what real love is.
So one of the things that since you brought up the Bible, one of the things that the Bible says is to love God with an understanding.
Right.
That's the whole point. That's my whole point. And if I love you
with an
understanding, what understanding am I loving you with? Am I loving you with the understanding of my opinion or my ideal of what love looks like and what love feels like or what love should be like? Or am I loving you predicated on an understanding which may have nothing to do with how you look, how you smell, how you taste, how you have sex? I need to love you predicated on my understanding.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? On the understanding of understanding what love is. I have to love you from that perspective and not with an emotional charge.
I hear what you're saying, but I'm saying
you keep talking about people
in the real world.
This is the real world.
I'm saying in this day and age, in this culture, they simply do not. They're not trying to hear that.
Why you so stuck on that?
I'm just saying. So what I'm asking you is, how would you communicate?
Listen. The thing that again, we're going to talk strategy just for a second. All right.
Okay.
First of all, I would want to know that I know what love is.
Boom.
Distinct from my opinion.
Boom.
And distinct from it being an emotional accessory to what it really is.
And before you go on, would you agree that most people don't have the right concept?
But I don't care. You still going back to that.
Okay, so that don't matter.
I don't care about nobody else right now.
All right, okay.
All I care, because you know why? I'm not talking about a male and female relationship. I'm talking about what love is in general.
Mm-hmm.
You brought up the Bible. The scripture says, love your enemy. You know what I'm saying? So the whole ideal of what love is, I must be able to demonstrate without the covenant relationship with any necessary one person.
True.
I have to know what love is.
Right.
So, and your questions and your statements are indicative that you keep pulling it back. You're intellectually understanding, but you keep pulling it back into the culture when the culture is not as important because in principle, it's important for the lover, the one that is attempting to express love. That's it.
So in other words, it doesn't have to be reciprocal.
Exactly. Love don't even mandate itself to be reciprocated.
Right. Okay, I'm gonna let you finish on how you would.
Right. So first of all, I would want to know. I wouldn't want to begin if I didn't have a platform to build effort on. I wouldn't want to begin until I had the platform. Mm-hmm. And the reason I use that terminology first is because I know that if I don't have a stable platform, and it's not going to work. It's going to be temporary. I might start out right, but it's going to be temporary because the platform is not stable. So now what is that stable platform? I need to have, on one level or another, not just have intellectual knowledge of what love is. I need to have practical field experience at what love is. And so God, knowing that, saying, love me with an understanding, he puts you in adversity even with himself. You know what I'm saying? He don't just tell you and explain eros, agape, and philia.
Right.
You know what I mean? He don't just say, these are biblical, Greco-Roman, Latin and Greek and all. He don't just give I'm just saying, because most people think they got it because they went to some school and got some college education relative to, but they're void of life experience.
Right.
And so God says, listen, this is the goal, to love me with an understanding.
Right.
I'm telling you this, even though you haven't had practical experience with loving me practically. But I'm telling you, this is your goal. You say, okay, you think you have it.
Right.
How about this? You are thinking like you have it.
Right.
Because that's when you get that intellect, man. That intellect will make you think you can, walk on water. Jesus walked on water. See that intellect, that knowledge is one thing.
Yeah.
And most people think they're ready for love after having gotten over certain things, or they think they have, until they're faced with the possibility of being hurt, until they're faced with the possibility of being rejected, until they experience being misunderstood, until they experience no one reciprocating their effort back. See, they're measuring then determining whether or not you love them. But when you understand from the platform perspective what love is, okay, God, I got it. How you know, my child, you got it. I got it, God, because somebody stole from me and I love them. Somebody raped me and I love them. Somebody murdered somebody I love and I love them. Whoa. See, I'm going through things. My mother rejected me, but I love her. My children rejected me, but I love them. So those are practical experiences you're having, so that when God says, love me, now you can stand in his presence and worship and praise him and be affectionate with God. Give of yourself. That's the key. Without any hangups. Give of yourself. And that's the first thing people who start out telling you they love you do, is they draw back.
Yeah.
The first thing they do is draw back.
So it's without expectation then. Like when you find a prospect, because we talking about you and what you would do, and that person doesn't, this is somebody that you want to impose your love on, your concept of real love on. To go back to the fact that you said that you don't have to be in love to marry a person, so it's going to be about purpose. You're going to be purposefully taking on this mate, right? Whether or not they have feelings of love for you or not, or can even understand the concept of love from where you coming from.
To be honest with you, so far down the road, I care more about my ability to love my enemy and to do good to them that despitefully use me. I care more about me being able to check myself than anything else at this point. When you use the word even prospect, everything and everybody is a prospect. You're talking about taking a person and pulling them in and putting them into position. You know what I mean? That's something different. You're talking about putting a person in a position to function, but I'm talking about being able to be consistent within myself with my own ideal of myself. God is love. God is consistent in his ideal of what he is as love. And no matter what hurt, no matter what pain, no matter what he goes through, Jesus, forgive them for they know not what they do. You know what I mean? Stephen, who was stoned, Father God, forgive them for they know not what they do. You watch people get persecuted, hurt, and forgive them for they know not what they. How can you forgive somebody who just did this to you?
But this is so in the context of what we talking about, that's after you got in the relationship.
No.
Okay, so what would be your motivation? We only got a few minutes left, and we'll continue this, I guess, on another show. But what would be your motivation, or what would be your reasoning for choosing someone to be your companion? How would you even, approach that?
Am I ready to give myself that way? Period.
So what would she have to be? Would she have to have any?
She would have to be breathing.
I don't see. That sounds good. But come on, man. I hear what you're saying. See, you're married, and I'm not gonna go there. But I'm saying that sounds good. You know what I mean? But we're human beings.
I'm telling you,
and you don't know who.
You don't. How about that? I'm telling you.
Yeah, but how do you know? So you would spend the time, getting to know that person.
Exactly, on whatever level, enough to see that our intentions are the same, because you kept saying, well, how would you deal with somebody who's, whatever, how would you, and they don't know, how do you, that's the whole point.
Oh, real quick, because you said something in our conversation the other day that stuck with me, and you were saying that what you would actually look for in a person, but you said that you would have to look for I believe their willingness to be able to what? Say that again now.
Yeah,
if you remember that.
I would look for the willingness to learn, the willingness to grow, the willingness to be. You don't have to be everything.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to know everything.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to have it all. All I need from you is a willingness.
Right.
And if you demonstrate, if you can convince me of your willingness,
and how would,
because everything is an act of faith, mm-hmm. no matter what, because somebody can say and do blah blah blah, but everything ultimately ignites through an act of faith.
Oh, I see what you're saying, because that would be enough then, because you're not requiring them to love you back, quote mm-hmm. unquote. That would be enough if you can establish that, okay, this person is willing mm-hmm. at least. You know what I mean? So I can rock with that. I'm gonna take care of the rest. I'm gonna do what I do.
You're gonna be who
I'm
gonna
be.
I'm
gonna be.
Exactly, right. And that's gonna draw the best out of the other person,
or not,
or not. But we're gonna because we're assuming faith. We're going to take a leap of faith. And so we're believing that loving them with love and kindness have I drawn. Right. And that's why I use the word drawing. Right.
Christ did
so
us.
I'm going to draw.
Wow. Yeah.
And I'm willing to love, which means unconditional. Wow. I'm willing to not label and put blinders. I'm willing to forgive. I'm willing to see the work is on the one who's attempting to love. Mm-hmm. The burden is on the one that is attempting to love. Mm-hmm. Even when there's no reciprocation back, the burden is on the lover. It is not on the lovee. Right. You know what I'm saying? And so when you know that you're going into the relationship as the lover.
Boom. Wow. Okay, so one more question before we wrap it up. So are you saying then that it is the man's role to take on that responsibility, as Christ said, husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church?
And so when that statement is made, and even your question is a question of structure, mm-hmm. and you have to understand again, you need to have these conversations about structure. Yeah. Because so this is everything we're going to build or attempt in our purpose. Within this structure, we're going to function. You know what I mean? So the burden on Adam was a structural burden. It wasn't the biting of the fruit. It was a structure. Look, it wasn't even your position as much as your position in the structure. And your mind have to think from the perspective of the structure. Mm-hmm. I'm holding you accountable from structure, mm-hmm. because the minute that you fall out of academia or function, mm-hmm. Then you have diluted or tainted or caused virus to come into the structure. Now everything else is at stake. And that's what I'm we're going to close the way we came into it. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm saying right there, is that I have to keep my feelings out of it in the beginning, especially in the beginning. Because if I project my feelings onto somebody who's not capable and don't know what to do with how I feel at any given moment, mm-hmm. it's going to cause that person to be overburdened.
But that takes an amazing level of maturity.
Wisdom.
Man, there's so much more I want to go there with you, because, I want to first of all, there's a difference between being coming from a God perspective and somebody that's coming from a worldly perspective.
But it's not true.
You choose. Okay, well, let me ask you this real quick. Hold that thought. Let me ask you this. So I heard you say one time that you would even go as far as, if there was your will, to choose a woman that didn't believe like you believe. So I'm going back to where you're saying if she's willing, mm-hmm. if she is willing, then that makes all the difference.
And this is the thing right here, right? And I want to interject this. this is the thing. There's a difference in opinionated love and principle love. And we never dealt with the principle of love. What we're talking about is from the perspective of opinion.
Okay.
So a lot
And
of
that's individual.
Oh yeah, but principle again deals with the structural.
Okay, got
you know what I mean? Yeah. And what weight can you put on a structure? What weight should you put on a structure?
How much can you?
Exactly.
Wow.
How much should I say? How much should I divulge? How much should, and then what is reasonable expectation back? God does not unreasonably expect things from us,
right.
But he does want us in principle to strive toward that perfection.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? That, or it wouldn't be no need for his grace. It wouldn't be no need for my grace is sufficient. My mercy, you know what I mean, it's sufficient. I want you to know, because I know that you will not make it, but I do expect, it is not unreasonable for me to expect you to try.
So we have to have that same mentality or that same resolve.
Exactly.
When we're dealing with, okay, cool. All right, so check it, man. Man, we could go on and on and on, but I know you got to get out of here. So we're going to wrap it up. Thank you for being on the show. And this is a topic that we definitely need to have dialogue on a serious level in these days and age, with the divorce rates and, so high, and even in the body of Christ and the church, you know what I mean? There's people are coming together and getting married and then only to create families and then end up divorcing. So we had this conversation again. Thank you, Pastor Allen, Pastor Keith J. Allen of His Way Ministries. We'll talk about structure when we come back on. Thank you for being on. You got anything else you want to say before we close out real quick?
Nah, I'm just not finished with the conversation. I'm gonna go home going. And get in the car and talk to myself.
No, listen. I'm being respectful of your time, because I'm we can keep going on as far as you want to go, and then but we'll cut it right here, and then we'll chop it up and come back for part 2.